Professor Swal, can I start now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to all of you. I am really grateful and feel honored as I have been selected as convener of this prestigious program on a legendary geographer and national professor and jewel of Indian as well as world geographer who has left us for heavenly abode on 17th of June 2017 after a brief illness. He was not only a teacher of ours but was friend, philosopher and
उसमें
guide.
जुड़े हुए हैं
As the main lecture will be given by the Professor Dr. Shashwati Mukherjee, I hereby would like to share a few personal experience about him. When we got admitted to MA course in geography, I was already married and was only married student at that part of time. I was sitting on the third row. Professor Banerjee entered into the classroom and noticed me and asked me to come and sit down in the first row. He also asked me whether I would be able to continue my study after marriage or not, because he told me that I um, did very good result in our undergraduation. And that was, he also told me that I will help you as and when you require. That was very much encouraging for me at that stage. During that time, after passing mm, PG in first class, I got UGC fellowship and I decided to do my PhD under him. But I was little bit worried because he was basically agriculture, industrial and economic geographer. But my special paper was on fluvial geomorphology and wanted to research on river geomorphology. And I was sure that he will not accept me. But to my utter surprise, he accepted me. By that time, I got training on air photogrammetry and air satellite imagery to certain extent. He told me, see, I think I don't have such training, but maybe technologically you are better than me. But I am far better in terms of my vast experience. So you have to apply your technology and I will share my experience for your PhD supervision. Lastly, I would like to mention about his unique academic nature. He always believed that the subject geography is, a, is an interdisciplinary subject and a diversified subject. As such, when after completion of my PhD, I wanted to do my postdoc, he told me and he sent me to Professor Dr. P.K. Bhomik, a renowned cultural anthropologist, to undertake my work under him. His foresightedness about the subject was amazing. These interdisciplinary experiences helped me a lot during my service tenure as professor and HOD of Department of Ecology, Physical and Human Researches near Calcutta. Now I request Professor Dr. Shoal to formally inaugurate this session and say a few words or your experience about him.
Myself, Professor K.S. I retired as a professor and head
A little bit louder, please.
loudly.
Yes.
Am I audible or not?
Yes, you are
Yes,
audible.
you are audible.
Yes, yes.
all right
Myself, Professor K.S. Hall. I am retired as professor and head Geography Department, Punjab University, Patiala. My specialization is agricultural geography. I did about 35 years service. at Punjabi University, Patiala. He was also director, highest and allied social training center, Punjabi University, Patiala. About 1.5 dozen research scholars have done work under me, and main specialization is agriculture geography. All the work was in agriculture geography. So now I am settled at Patiala and busy in some my own research work in these days. Again on the Punjab agriculture. Now, may I request to Madam Aarti Nandi for the welcome address, ma'am?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, sir.
Yes.
I
Madam,
will
please.
just because due to some problems, sometimes if I put my video on, sometimes some glitches are there, so I put it off. I'm here very much.
Yes. Ma'am, you please go ahead with the welcome address.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Swell.
Right.
May I continue, Mamata?
Now I invite Dr. Arati Nandi, specialist on social safeguards as consultant to Asian Development Bank. Dr. Nandi, please welcome all the panelists.
Thank you, Mamata, and thank you, Professor Swell. So, I would like to welcome all of you. It's a very good afternoon to all. And I welcome all of you on the occasion of the 26th episode of the lecture series devoted to the founders and makers of modern geography. And this episode is organized to acknowledge and honor the contribution made by Professor Banerjee. Professor Bireswar Banerjee. He was a former professor and head Department of Geography, University of Calcutta. And on this occasion, I would like to welcome all who have joined this online lecture, and also particularly to Professor K. Sohail, former professor and head Department of Geography, Punjab University, Patiala, the president of today's episode. Guests of honor, Professor Smita Bhutani, former professor and head Department of Geography, Punjabi University, Chandigarh, and Dr. Muhammad Sarfraz Asghar, Associate Professor, Department of Geography, University of Jammu. And today's especially welcome today's chief guest, Professor Virendra Nagarel, Professor and Head Department of Geography, SNDT, Women's University, Pune, and distinguished guest, Professor Ram Jadhav, former Professor and Head Department of Geography, Institute of Science, Bengal Hindu University, Varanasi. Special guest on today's program, Professor V. Imaya Varanam, Professor and Head Department of Geography, School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences, Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai, Tamil Nadu. I don't know, I haven't, whether Professor Imaya Varanam has joined. I didn't see his feature. And also I welcome our team for today's episode led by intercessor Professor Devendra P. Singh, Director Researches, IERARD, Patna, and Vice President in Nagi. The research scholars and admirers of Professor Bireswar Banerjee and fellow participants who have assembled today to show respect to Professor Banerjee. In the very beginning, I would like to say this is a very well thought of and coordinated efforts by the group of eminent geographical institutions and departments of various universities, which has created not only a forum for association of geographers, but also to pay tribute to the eminent geographers in India, whose contribution towards making geography to reach its present height as an interdisciplinary modern subject of learning, combining various branches of fundamental sciences, social sciences, and applied sciences. I welcome to all of you. We have listened earlier to the 22nd episode of this series of lectures devoted to Professor Kanan Gopal Bagchi, former professor and head Department of Geography, University of Calcutta, who was also my teacher, delivered brilliantly by Dr. S.K. Chattopadhyay on 10th July. who thoughtfully pointed out his relentless efforts to create the Department of Geography within the fold of Calcutta University, which is one of the oldest departments of this subject in India, and made way for numerous students to adopt the subject as their core subject of study in graduation, post graduation, and even pursuing higher level of study. Today, we will have the opportunity of remembering another eminent teacher, scholar, research guide, and academician of the same department, Department of Calcutta Geography, Calcutta University, who was one of the forerunners of transforming geography into a modern interdisciplinary subject to seize its position among the top preferred subjects of the current educational courses. Yes, we are talking of late Professor Bireswar Banerjee, who has passed into eternity some 5 years ago in 2017. He had a rather small stature. Those who know him, you might remember. But his brilliance in personal educational achievement and excellence in teaching and guiding research scholars is by all means of a tall order. It's a privilege and honor for me to welcome you all to today's lecture on my teacher, guide, and mentor, all combined into one role. In fact, I feel rather humbled that I would be addressing and participating in this lecture program among such a glittering presence of modern geographers. Of many facets of Professor Banerjee's successful life as a teacher, scholar, research guide, and academician, I would like to add another feather of contribution by him. I'm referring to the Curriculum Development Committee in Geography formed by UGC as late as in 2001, of which Professor Banerjee was one of the core members and pursued this mission of making geography as modern scientific subject by upgrading and reframing the courses and making it suitable for all kinds of students, including those who want to follow the academic assignments and research as profession, but for even those who can be trained in vocational, combined, and professional courses and follow various other types of professions and employments outside the realm of academics. This CDC of 2001 has made a very bold step in modernizing geography and enriching scope of employability of thousands of students of geography in various other fields. We are proud that Professor Banerjee was one of the key members who took up the cudgels in infusing new life into making of modern geography. In this context, I cannot help but mention my own experience as a geographer who took up consultancy as a profession, and that too in the realm of interdisciplinary areas of hardcore infrastructural development projects engaged in fields of socioeconomic, environmental studies, gender, resettlement and rehabilitation, and indigenous peoples in sectors like mining, highways, water supply, sanitation, urban development, smart cities development, all these being mostly outside the arena of basic academical geography. The fact that consultancy has become my bread and butter since the last 30 years or so is evidence enough that the fundamental concept and practical approach of geography that I learned under the tutelage of Professor Banerjee served me well among the assembly of hardcore professionals of the government and international financial institutions like Asian Development Bank and World Bank. I mention of this possibility as an opening of new opportunity that geography can provide, just to highlight that the guidance and mentoring that I received from Professor Banerjee all came handy in accepting the challenges of consultancy successfully. This is one lesser known aspect of Sir, who used to provide practical guidance and fueled encouragement during many difficult times, and that made me confident of being a geographer at the core. Not many people, I'm sure, are aware of this aspect of motivation and guidance that Professor Banerjee has provided to some of us. Like Lastly, I would like to mention that foresight and brilliance of Professor Banerjee lies not only in teaching and guiding research scholars, but also in grooming his scholars and students into excellent academicians who have later become stalwarts in their respective field of specializations, both as academicians, teachers, and as scholars in their own right, and raise the standard of geography teaching and research to a new height. I'm sure those who have the fortune of receiving guidance in true sense of the word from him would vouchsafe my experience that Professor Banerjee offered adequate attention and closely followed students or scholars' approach towards a research theme and appropriately guide them whenever necessary. At the same time, he would give ample freedom to follow their own independent thinking process. In this context, I would like to name a few of such scholars and students of Professor Banerjee who rose to the pinnacle of their professions. I may mention such as Professor Champa Mitra, who is first PhD scholar and ex-professor, Department of Geography, Bharapan University, who is present, may be present among us, but due to her ill health, may not be able to speak a few words. I wish. Professor Joyati Hajra, Department of Geography, Calcutta University, who unfortunately has left us about a year ago. You may be knowing some of you, and who opened a new interdisciplinary vista of geography, the medical geography. Professor Ashish Sharkar, ex-head Department of Geography, renowned for his excellence in teaching and research guidance. Dr. Mamata Desai, today's convener, who retired as professor and head Department of Ecology, Physical and Human Resources at Netaji Institute for Asian Studies, Kolkata. And of course, today's speaker, Professor Shashwati Mukherjee, WBSES, retired professor and head Department of Geography, Lady Bharapan College, Calcutta, with which she has been associated since 2011, even now as guest faculty of the Postgraduate Department of Geography. There are many more of his students and scholars who have excelled in various specialized fields of geography. My apology not to be able to name many of his scholars within the limited time. I now welcome Professor Shashwati Mukherjee to deliver a lecture on Professor Bireswar Banerjee, bring out his multifarious talents and lifelong association with geography, not only as a teacher and research guide, but also as a dynamic academician in rejuvenating geography throughout his life. Thank you and welcome once again to today's lecture on Professor Bireswar Banerjee, the academician extraordinary. Thank you all. Mamata, I would like to, you may proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Arutidi, for your elaborate and excellent experience about Professor Banerjee. Now, before inviting Professor Dr. Shashwati Mukherjee, I would like to invite panelists of today's episode, Professor Smita Bhutani. Are you there? No. Then Dr. Muhammad Asghar. Any of the panelists who are willing to say something about Professor Bireswar Banerjee are welcome to say a few words. Whoever is interested.
Invite the key speaker, and after that, other speakers will be delivering. But first
Okay,
of all,
then I invite Professor Dr. Shashwati Mukherjee. Now, she has done her post-graduation from JNU and PhD from University of Calcutta. Her professional activities started as scientific pool officer in CSIR from 1987-89. Then she joined in West Bengal Education Service in 1989 and served in various capacities in the Department of Geography in Chandannagar Government College, then Presidency College, and then as reader in Lady Brevon College up to 2014, which is also my college. And he retired as HOD and professor from that college. Since 2014, she has been servicing as guest faculty in University of Calcutta, Jadavpur University, Vidyasagar University, as well as in her parent department in Lady Brevon College. She has in her credit about 35 research articles in various reputed national and international journals and edited books. She has also supervised 7 PhD students to her credit. Now I invite Professor Dr. Shashwati Mukherjee kindly deliver today's theme lecture.
Thank you, Mamata Di, and thank you, Aruti Di also. So with respected President Professor K.S. Sohal, Chief Guest Professor Virendra Nagarale, distinguished guest Professor R.S. Jadhav, special guest Professor V. Emilia Bharapan, guest of honor Professor Smita Bhutani, Dr. Sarfaraz Asgar. At the very outset, I express my thanks to Professor Devendra Prasad Singh for organizing such a seminar and giving me the opportunity to pay homage to my teacher and guide, Professor Bireswar Banerjee. Now I will go to my slides presentation. Presentation repeat it. Are the slides visible?
Yes.
Am I audible too?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this is Professor Banerjee, his period from 1930 to 2017. First about his background. Professor Banerjee comes from Bonga in North 24 Paryanas district. His ancestors were Zamindars of Choiboria village of Bonga, and he comes from a very lustrous and educated background. This is the photograph of his parents. Professor Banerjee was the second child of Vishwanath Banerjee and Sharnulata Banerjee. A little bit about Professor Banerjee's father. His father, Vishwanath Bandyopadhyay, son of Satish Bandyopadhyay, was an eminent lawyer of Calcutta High Court, a distinguished educationist, and a dedicated social worker. He had shifted to Bonga town, where Professor Banerjee spent his childhood and completed his schooling. Professor Banerjee's father was a freedom fighter who studied in Calcutta University and passed his MSc in anthropology. This is the family tree of Professor Banerjee. Uh, After his father's demise, an obituary had come out in the vernacular newspaper of Calcutta, and it was mentioned there that his father, as a dedicated social worker, had invited Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose to Bodhga on his own expense, and there he organized a public meeting. So such was the background of Professor Banerjee. This is the ancestral home of Professor Banerjee, which has now been declared a heritage building. About his Professor Banerjee's early training and teaching career, um, he passed his matriculation examination from Bonga High School and stood first from the district and received district scholarship. He passed his IA in 1947 and he completed his BA honors from erstwhile Presidency College, Calcutta University, and he received first class. And he became first class first and received gold medal from Calcutta University. He completed his master's from Calcutta University in 1951. After that, he completed his D.Litt thesis and was the title of his thesis was Agriculture in West Bengal, a geographical analysis, and for which he was awarded the degree of D.Litt in 1962. And incidentally, he was the first D.Litt in India in geography. He, he taught in Loreto College, in St. Xavier's College, and Jogomaya Devi College prior to joining Calcutta University. After that, he joined the Department of Geography, University of Calcutta in 1963. He became a reader in he became a reader in 1972 and became professor in 1975. He was honorary professor in the Department of Architecture and Planning, IIT Kharagpur, from 1972 to 1975. And he also was the General Secretary of Asiatic Society of Calcutta in 1976. He became the UGC National Lecturer during 1984-85 and retired in 1995. He became Emeritus Professor between 1995 and 98. So he had a very long stint in Calcutta University since 1963 to 1998. He also was a visiting faculty of Utkal University in 1982 and a visiting faculty of Hiroshima University in 1989. And he became the General Secretary of Asiatic Society in 1976. He was also the editor of Geographical Review of India in 1885, and he was the Vice President of the Geographical Society between 1987 and 2006. He was also a consultant in human, political, and economic geography of the ICSSR. His contribution as an academician, of course, we heard from Dr. Aruti Nondi, but here I would like to mention that he had an immense contribution as an academician, educator, and scholar in the field of geography. His entry in the Department of Geography, Calcutta University in early 60s, that was a period of golden era when geography was emerging as a strong academic discipline having an interdisciplinary approach. Geography was then already a well-established academic discipline and attained international acclaim because of the works of Professor S.P. Chatterjee, who was the founder of the subject in Calcutta University. And Professor Banerjee was a very bright student of Professor Chatterjee. The tradition established by Professor Kanon Gopal Bagchi. Professor Bagchi, in his long tenure as head of the department, had already established a long tradition of interdisciplinary research, and Professor Banerjee continued this tradition and brought it into further glory through his research, teaching, and publications. The department flourished and attained academic excellence through the contribution of such eminent teachers. During the early 1980s, UGC introduced the new regulation of rotational headship, but Professor Banerjee maintained that he will only take up the headship after Professor Bagchi's retirement. Such was the mutual respect during their time. Little bit about the background of Calcutta University Department of Geography. At that point of time, the Department of Geography excelled in geology and physical geography, as there were a number of faculty members whose specialization was in physical geography. Professor Banerjee was the first geographer actually in the department, and he remained a protagonist of human geography throughout his life. He was the first geographer who held a faculty position in the Department of Geography. In the initial days of the Department of Geography, many faculty members were trained in geology. He, as a geographer, advocated the relevance of non-physical disciplines of geography, such as agricultural geography, social geography, and cultural geography. Now, establishment of human geography, that was his major contribution. During his tenure as reader and professor of geography 72 to 1995, he contributed immensely in the development of all the sub-branches of human geography and encouraged his research students to take forward studies in settlement geography, industrial geography, medical geography, urban geography, and economic geography. He worked tirelessly to focus on the development of human geography in the Department of Geography. Subsequently, all these were included in the postgraduate and undergraduate curriculum. Professor Banerjee always focused on holistic approach in the study of geography, which included fieldwork and practical applications of cartographic knowledge. Strengthening the foundation of geographical training, he held the view that to be a good geographer, one must learn photography, one must have a good training in fieldwork, applying techniques like participant observation, interviewing target groups, applying the techniques of non-structured questionnaire method in collecting primary data. Over and above, he emphasized on acquiring a well-developed skill in cartography. The basics of geographical training was highlighted by him, and he passed it on to his students who worked under him for doctoral degree and those students who had the good fortune to learn field techniques from him. Laying the foundation of geographical methodology in the early years, he advocated a macro view of geography going from general to particular and put a lot of weightage on qualitative analysis. He also championed for two basic tenets in geography, namely map making and fieldwork. As his research student, I had the good fortune to learn the methodological approach which he tried to disseminate among his students. If we try to see the focus of geography in 2022, we must agree that he was far ahead of his time. Focus of geography in the 21st century. During the present century, the focus of research has shifted to micro-level studies based on intensive and extensive primary data collection, data generation. Geography has come a long way from the past century with development in map making technology through RS and GIS, and digital map making is far more accurate and time saving. But during Professor Banerjee's time, he was the pioneer in adopting some of the techniques in geographical research and methodology that are time tested and remain relevant till date. Therein lies his contribution in geography. Focus on interdisciplinary research, which both Professor Desai and Dr. Nundy has mentioned. Another path-breaking approach during his time was introducing the interdisciplinary approach. Geography is considered to be a bridge subject, acquiring information from all related subdisciplines of knowledge, which help the subject to mature further in its outlook of collating data from nature and society and give a spatial analytical interpretation. All these are reflected in his published works. He supervised the doctoral thesis of a number of scholars who worked on interdisciplinary topics, including myself. There is a brief list of PhD theses under Professor Banerjee's guidance and supervision. Professor Champa Mitro, she did her PhD in geography of tea and its impact on cultural landscape of Duars, West Bengal, and was awarded the degree in 1971. Dr. Devika Roy worked on industrial profile of West Bengal, a geographical study, and was awarded the degree in 1975. Dr. Aruti Nundi did her PhD on socio-economic transformation of Munda community in West Bengal, a study in cultural geography, and was awarded the degree in 1976. Professor Jayati Hajra worked on medical geography and her PhD thesis was titled Medical Geography of West Bengal, and she was awarded the degree in 1976. Professor Mamata Desai, she worked on geomorphological characteristics of South Coel Basin and received the degree in 1981. I also worked in interdisciplinary field, and my thesis was titled Sericulture in West Bengal, a Geographical Analysis, and was awarded a degree in 1984. Professor Ashish Sarkar's thesis was on spacings of urban settlements in West Bengal 1901 to 1981, and he got the degree in 1991. Dr. Nandini Chatterjee worked on irrigated agriculture of West Bengal, and she received the degree in 1991. There is a long list of research in interdisciplinary fields under Professor Banerjee, who showed brilliance and erudite scholasticism in academic pursuits. He completed 2 minor and 1 major research projects. His major project, titled Forest Ecology in West Bengal, in collaboration with Botany Department of Calcutta University. From this research work, a PhD thesis was completed by Dr. Anita Roy Mukherjee, titled Forests in the Plateau Sections of West Bengal, a Geographical Analysis. This was published as a book titled Forest Resources Conservation and Regeneration, a study of West Bengal Plateau in 1995. In 1995, under his supervision, Ranjit Kumar Banerjee was awarded PhD on photographical analysis of selected regions of India by remote sensing technique, and this was also published later. He also supervised the thesis of Vishwanath Sarkar of Bangladesh, who was awarded PhD on the topic Small Scale and Cottage Industries of Bangladesh, a spatiotemporal analysis. All these and many more research subjects reveal the nature of interdisciplinary work that Professor Banerjee undertook during his long tenure as a teacher and research guide in the Department of Geography. This I have already mentioned about his career profile, about his being the visiting faculty of universities of Nagano and Hiroshima, and his being editor of geographical general, he being the editor of Geographical Review of India, and other things. Participation in committees and governing councils of institutions. Professor Banerjee was member of several committees and councils of institutions. He was actively associated with the UGC Curriculum Development Program in Geography 1989, and he was a member of the panel of geography constituted by UGC of CDC in 2001, and a member of the UGC Syllabus Committee for NET Examination 84-85. Professor Banerjee had participated in many national and international conferences and workshops, and delivered keynote addresses, and had chaired technical sessions. He represented India in the International Seminar on Southeast Asia at Singapore in 1975, and the International Conference of Asia and Pacific Countries at Beijing 1990. He also presided over the technical session in the International Seminar on Commercial Activities, Women and Development at Dhaka. Multi-dimensional domain of Professor Banerjee's research. Professor Banerjee's research transcended the boundary of geography and encompassed the domain of cultural and social anthropology, history, ecology, economics, and planning. He was indeed respected by a large number of geographers and academicians of other disciplines, researchers, and students all over India. All his research scholars, including myself, have great admiration and respect for his scholasticism. His felicitation volume was published in 1997, titled Dimensions of Human Geography, Essays in Honor of Professor Bireswar Banerjee, edited by Professor Jayati Hajra, which contains an array of diverse topics in human geography contributed by world-famous academicians like David D. Christensen, Robert W. Steele, Andrew T. A. Learmonth, and Abhijit Gupta. Professor Banerjee is an administrator. Professor Banerjee was an able and successful administrator, which he exhibited during his tenure as head of the department. He was very friendly with non-teaching staff of the department and sincerely looked after their well-being. He had a very cordial relation with the members of the Faculty of Geography as well as other departments of the university. He was very student friendly and earned respect from everyone, non-teaching employees, teachers, students, and others for his hard work, academic brilliance, humane behavior, and high intelligence. He was very successful administrator and loved by all. About his publications, he wrote school textbooks for classes 6 to 10 entitled Learning Geography, while the junior school texts were written with Sheila Ray. The senior textbook was written by him. Among his huge list of publications, numbering 90, there are a variety of papers encompassing various subjects in different subdisciplines of geography. So his research has also been in multidisciplinary fields. He was joint author of the book titled Remote Sensing Techniques for Regional Development, which is published in 2000. Apart from agricultural geography, cultural geography, economic geography, industrial geography, settlement geography, regional geography, and population geography, he also published papers in physical geography, particularly in geomorphology, soil geography, and biogeography. The ideological focus was found in all his research papers, and his papers were published in various national and international journals. He had published 5 monograph papers in 9 edited volumes, but most unfortunately, I could not locate all his published papers, some of which I have mentioned. He had enormous range of topics on which he wrote research papers and articles in reputed journals. He focused on issues of regional imbalance in India, environmental, ecological, economic, and cultural diversities that produced landscapes of contradiction. Geopolitics and regional tensions, as mentioned by Professor Shuranjan Das, Vice Chancellor, Jadavpur University, in his article titled Professor Banerjee, A Profile in Dimensions of Human Geography, edited by Hajra in 1997, Professor Banerjee's contribution in J. Bose's edited book on geopolitical background of Northeast India reflects his thought in this respect. He further writes, Professor Banerjee's introduction in markets and marketing in West Bengal and East Nepal, edited by H. Ishiara, Nagoya University 89, reflects his understanding of cross-border economic networks in South Asia as one of the basic potentials for generating regional stability. Some of his published articles, Relief as a Factor in the Location of West Bengal Tea Gardens, published in 1952, Preliminary Observations on the Geomorphic Features of a Part of Eastern Sikkim, Changunatu La Baidang Lake, published in 1955, Morphological Regions of West Bengal, published in 64, Thematic Maps, published in 64, Resource Utilization of Darjeeling Himalayas and Conservation of Ecology, 1982, Relevance of Geographical Research and Study in the Context of Indian Society, published in 1984, in the Northeast Geographer, then Critic of Research Trends in Economic Geography, Survey of Research in Geography, published by ICSSR, 1976-84. Development Strategies of Modern China, which came out from Bulletin Asiatic Society in July 1992. All these reflect his diversity of interest in academic pursuits. The Indian community, Indian village community evolution, this had Evolution and Transformation. This was published in Journal of Asiatic Society in 2017. That was the last article published by him. So we can see that till the end, till 2017, Professor Banerjee continued his research. Professor Banerjee's participation in editorial boards. Apart from being editor in Geographical Review of India, he was in the editorial boards of reputed journals such as Science and Culture, Asian Studies, and Annals of the Association of Geographers of India. Professor Banerjee served as a member of the advisory committee for the Diagnostic Survey of the Damodar Valley Corporation and advisors to the DSA programs and Board of Studies in different universities. He took 2 collaborative projects with Japanese experts on periodic markets of West Bengal and geographical reappraisal of human resources and its impact on regional development of India. Professor Banerjee as a teacher. Professor Banerjee, in his long career as a teacher, earned huge respect from his students because of his ability to mesmerize his classes with his skill as an orator and vast knowledge of the subject. He also gave latest references in his classes and quoted data at ease. And he always spoke extempore and very fast in the class. His punctuality was legendary. He used to come before everyone in the department and used to leave after everyone had left and used to open and close the department. In his special paper classes, which was agricultural geography, he took great care of his students and took a lot of efforts in explaining things over and over again. In his field trips with students, he took extra care of his students in giving first-hand training about how to acquire knowledge about environment, man, and society. As a research guide, we can say that Professor Banerjee supervised more than 38 PhD theses. He was a meticulous research guide, and several of his research students, including myself, have worked on different topics simultaneously. He tirelessly worked with his scholars and accompanied them in their field trip wherever necessary. He was quite ahead of his time as far as research methodology was concerned. He advocated empirical inductive method and asked his students to select case studies with the help of in-depth analysis and to build up hypotheses. He did put a good good deal of emphasis on interview and narration and oral methods of data collection. He guided his students to set up target groups and carry out investigation through interview method. All these are now part of qualitative research and are being taught in PhD coursework in different universities. During the 70s, 80s, and 90s, his scholars were most familiar with these techniques. Multiple skill development of young trainees and scholars. Professor Banerjee always used to say that to be a good geographer, one has to be a good photographer, cartographer, and field worker, and he encouraged his students to become one. And he himself was a fantastic photographer. This is not to say that he did not encourage quantitative methods, but always insisted on appropriate applications of sophisticated statistical techniques wherever necessary. One must remember that prior to the days of RSGIS, he laid a good foundation of geographical research and methodology that would draw intellectual acclaim. A thorough research of any topic with the help of extensive literature review was being taught by him to his students. Highlighting on scalar dimension, Professor Banerjee always emphasized the technique of focusing at the macro level and then coming to the micro level study through participant observation method and perception studies. The scalar dimension and hierarchic aspects of geography's core objectives were thus highlighted in his teaching and training of young students and scholars. The process of theorizing was also being guided by him, and his scholars are all familiar with this way of conducting research work. He was extremely pragmatic and liberal in his views related to geographical knowledge, which he tried to instill among his students. Achievements of Professor Banerjee. Professor Banerjee actually opened a new dimension of geography where the scholars trained under him went for national and international consultancy service in social and cultural impact assessment, which is so much in demand now. Therefore, those geographers who were henceforth were looking only towards teaching and research jobs could now go in for services in non-conventional professional domain. He laid the foundation for geography students to go in for non-traditional jobs. Reminiscence of his research scholars, Dr. Nondi, she has already said that those who have heard him speaking in seminars and lectures were totally absorbed. And in his later years, of course, he used to keep written pages and to remain updated always. One of the characteristics of Professor Banerjee was to remain updated irrespective of age or time. This photograph is with Professor Subhas Basu and Dr. Saroj Pal and Shamul Chakraborty. Focus on students' welfare. Professor Banerjee was associated with syllabus making and was a member of such committees at regional and national level. In his approach, he was very balanced and very sensitive to the needs of the students. He felt the need to make the syllabus modern, scientific, and inclusive of theoretical and practical papers so that students are benefited. Geography is a subject in competitive examination, and therefore a balance between theory and practical papers was necessary, as it is a very scoring subject. The student's interest was always in his mind, and in the process of interdisciplinary research, he showed brilliance in interdisciplinary research guidance at the doctoral and postdoctoral level. And I myself worked on an interdisciplinary topic, and he guided me throughout my research period with valuable inputs, contacts to respective experts in the field, and ultimately giving freedom to my own thought process. This was his way of guiding his scholars, as many of them have told me, including Professor Champa Mitro and Dr. Aruti Nandi. Contribution in building up the Department of Geography, Calcutta University. In the early decades of 16th and 17th, when the department was growing, Professor Banerjee had worked tirelessly for development of the department. The Geographical Society of India took its present shape under the guidance and supervision of persons like him. And in the early days, he contributed substantially, not only editing the paper, but also he worked for the betterment of the journal and also for development and maintenance of the seminal library of the society. In the early days, he contributed substantially, developing the map section of the department, in procuring the Survey of India topo sheets, particularly those which are restricted at that point of time. Efforts towards upgradation and modernization, the development of the soil laboratory, photographic section, museum, all took place in the department due to the teamwork of all the faculties present during the subsequent period. But Professor Banerjee's efforts in modernization, because it took initiatives in introducing agricultural geography, industrial geography, regional planning, and medical geography as optional papers in the postgraduate curriculum. This opened a huge opportunity for research scholars of the geography department for conducting research in multiple fields and subfields of geography. His empathy for students, he encouraged students to take up project work and gain experience as project assistants in the funded projects such as UGC, CSIR, and ICSSR. This helped research students to produce theses under his supervision and guidance. Professor Banerjee also mentored a number of postdoctoral fellows working in the Department of Geography in various capacities, including myself. In other words, he always thought of students' academic welfare. During his last 10 to 12 years, he taught in erstwhile Presidency College, now Presidency University, in the Department of Geography. Love for Presidency College. The Department of Geography, Presidency College, was very dear to him. He used to come regularly to the department, used to take classes, used to interact with students and faculty till his death. In this photograph, Professor Banerjee is giving a lecture in Derozio Hall, erstwhile Presidency College. If any student had fallen ill, he used to go to their homes to inquire about their health and welfare. I had the fortune to interact with him during those days, as I was one of the faculty members of the Presidency College. He was very fit physically, always climbed up the 73 steps to the second floor of the main building where Geography Department is located. The department still preserves his laboratory notebook, which is a piece of cartographic excellence. He was always up to date. He used to help financially the students and employees of the department without letting anybody know about his mission. Of course, this tradition of educating needy students runs in Professor Banerjee's family, as I was told by his sister Joyashree Dotto. Similarly, he was student friendly too, and the students looked upon him as a friend, philosopher, and guide. We can thus sum up by stating that Professor Banerjee was one of the founders and makers of modern geography. The future generation of geographers can most certainly take a cue from his lifetime work. He was one of the pioneers in taking geography out of the domain of geology and established geography as a separate discipline under its own distinct methods of research and training. Geography Department of Calcutta University is one of the oldest geography departments in India, which was founded by Professor S.P. Chatterjee, and Professor Bireswar Banerjee, one of his most able students, contributed enormously in bringing it to its present glory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mukherjee. It appears that you have done a lots of work about Professor Banerjee, of most of which me myself also did not know. Once again, thank you very much. Now I wanted to contact Professor Dr. Champa Mitru, his first PhD scholar, but her phone is not reachable. Now, can I call Madam Mallasri, younger daughter of Professor Banerjee, to say something about Professor Banerjee on behalf of his family?
She's sister of Professor.
Sister.
Is here? Professor Madam Mallasri, are you here?
Yes,
No, I don't think she is here.
I can I say a word, Professor Desai? Just one word.
Yes.
That I am immensely grateful to Professor Banerjee's sister Joystree Dotto for helping me in bringing this background of Professor Banerjee, which we never could have found without her contribution. She helped me with the photographs, with the family background, because Professor Banerjee was very, very reserved about his background, and we never knew about this. So I'm
Yes,
very
I know that. I requested Jayashree to say something about him, but she is not.
willing to do so.
Anyhow, can I progress? Now, can I request Professor Smita Bhutia to say something about Professor Banerjee?
Professor Bhutani, Smita Bhutani.
Smita Bhutia is here. Then Dr. Muhammad Asghar.
Yes, left.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mamta Desai, ma'am. Respected Professor K. Sohal, sir, the president of this 26th episode, convener Professor Mamta Desai, ma'am, Professor Samita Bhutani, ma'am, chief guest of this session, Professor Virender, sir, and distinguished guests and the speaker, Professor Saraswati Mukherjee, ma'am. First of all, I would like to pay tribute to Professor Banerjee. He had made his immense contribution in the field of geography, and I'm also thankful to Professor D.P. Singh, sir, to give me this platform to share my views. I suppose I'm very small to say anything, even Professor Banerjee has done his work even before my birth. So many contributions made in the field of geography which I've heard from Saraswati Mukherjee, ma'am. I know I belong to very near to Kolkata, so I'm West Bengal. So I know that West Bengal in general is and Kolkata in particular has always been the fertile soil for geography. And I know that many of the geographers from Kolkata University and from West Bengal, they have immensely made their contribution in the field of physical geography. And what I came to know from Saraswati Madam about Professor Banerjee, that he was a field geographer and he adopted the inductive approach. Nonetheless, he basically gave more emphasis upon the empirical studies. Today, if we want to make our geography more strengthful, then it is the need of the hour that we should equally give our emphasis upon the theoretical aspect as well as the field work. Without field work and field studies, we can't, help geography to be a flourished subject. So thank you, madam, and thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity to share my views. And we would like to listen much more about Professor Banerjee and about his immense contribution in the field of geography, because he has touched even the urban geography, the industrial geography, and he was very much ahead of his time, because at that time he basically was equally giving the emphasis about the GIS and remote sensing. So nonetheless, these all are the recent technologies. Professor Banerjee has also emphasized on this. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, and all other geographers for giving me the opportunity to say my few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Asgar. I am also of the same opinion that without fieldwork, geography is not complete. Now I request our distinguished guest, Professor Ram Jadhav. Are you here,
Yes.
Jadhav?
Okay.
Uh,
Share very good afternoon to all of you. In fact, all distinguished professors working as president are presenting about Professor Banerjee are the convener, including our Professor Devendra Prasad Singh. I would like to actually add a few points about Professor Banerjee. I have not much interaction, but 3-4 sitting I had when I was assistant professor in Manipur University. And during those interactions, I could jot down something about Professor Banerjee. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate Professor Saraswati Mukherjee, his student. She has taken pain to prepare a good account on the contributions made by Professor Banerjee. I would like to say that Professor Bireswar Banerjee was ahead of his time. Calcutta is known for as Bhadralok. By virtue of that, he was very gender sensitive, paying respect to the soft gender. He has been mentoring his students. Many of the students were girls also. Not only that, I would like to say that besides being gender sensitive, he has encouraged the sense of belongingness or the students working under him. Many have started to consider this gender geography, or you can say humanistic geography as well. Besides teaching variety physical and geography disciplines, subdisciplines. Second important thing I would like to say that he was very humanistic human geographer. He has contributed immensely in many branches of human geography. I would like to submit that some of the colleagues, Professor H.R. Betal, Professor Yassi Mukherjee, were also working with him, and he never imposed upon his ideas onto them. That's why they were freely moving ahead and contributing towards the development of geography. I would like to say that Professor Banerjee was practicing gender geographer at the time when there was feeling or urge among geographers to consider about the role of women and also the human being, woman-centric. Once upon a time, it was male chauvinistic, but he thought that this attitude among geographers need to be modified, rectified, and equal share. Rather, you can say being Bhadralok in Kolkata, you find that ladies are coming on forefront and immensely contributing to geography. I would like to submit that when I was a teacher in Manipur University, when he came, he was able to motivate one of the students, Dr. Samarjit Singh, to work on medical geography. Whenever he will come and will guide Dr. Samarjit Singh to work his thesis on medical geography. Thank you very much to the organizers for giving me opportunity to say a few words. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much, Dr. Jadhav. Now, I request our special guest, Professor Emilia Bharapan is here.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Momata madam.
Yes.
I'm Mallusri Bhattacharya.
Oh, you are here. Can you say
Yes.
a few words on behalf
yes,
of Professor Banerjee's family?
Yes. I'm Dr. Mallusri Bhattacharya in Botany Department, Calcutta University, now retired as Associate Professor from Muralidhar Girls College. Dr. Banerjee is my elder brother. Rather, I should say he is my like father for his contribution to my present position. He inspired me all the time, and I deeply his and I deeply what can I say, that acknowledged his contribution in my life. I am really in debt to him in my whole life. And we missed my very loving brother, elder brother. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much. It is our very good luck that we have someone on behalf of his family.
Actually, I am in botany. That's why I don't know about the contribution that my dada has given. I have also enriched with the Saraswati madam about him. I'm thankful to you and Aratidi and Saraswati madam.
I am also thankful to Saraswati Mukherjee that the photograph you have shown in a slide, most probably it has been given to you by me. It says that he is sitting live on front of us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
A very good picture.
Yes.
Now, can I request our special guest, Professor Emilia Bharapan, is there?
বড় বড় করে লিখো না, এটা পড়া যাচ্ছে না, আমি চোখে পড়তে পারছি না, কি করব?
He is there? No. Then I can request our chief guest, Professor Birendra Nagarel.
Yes, madam. I'm here. Can I?
I request you to say something about Professor Banerjee, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon to each and everyone, respected professor, senior professor, and I am here to give some highlight about the Professor Bireswar Banerjee. Unfortunately, I have not met sir, but I heard so many times about the first when I heard about the Professor Banerjee when I was in Pune University, and that CDC which Saraswati madam gave in detail about the Curriculum Development Committee, Professor A.C. Gupta, the Vice Chancellor, Geographer of Pune University, that time I want to discuss something about the regional planning, and that time sir told me that Bireswar Banerjee sir written a book, and you can contact, you can have a very different idea about that. So in that way, and I am basically physical geomorphology, but when I listen the lecture, the presentation by Madam Mukherjee, so it is how sir himself, according to the need of geography and how developed to human geography, to the interdisciplinary nature, and even lastly research guided by geomorphological aspect of Kajal River, I think. So what I came to know from the presentation, a geographer, a pioneer, really founders of modern geography. Otherwise, we are always segregate ourselves. I'm a physical geographer, he or she is a human geographer, and not beyond that. Of course, the professor, I have listened to lectures, so many lectures from various K.R. Dikshit sir from our university, I also interacted not directly, indirectly with the Professor Kurji Saab is there, when Ramotra sir and let Jadhav sir. So the people who are really founders of modern geography and how they contribute even after retirement, the last date. This is new for us, and most of us we don't have idea that the presidency policy sir has even after retirement has given his contribution. So such a nice and very useful information which is shared by Mukherjee ma'am. I also thankful to the team which is associated Mamta ma'am and that Dr. Nandi. Of course, the credit goes to the our Professor Devendra Prakash Singh episodes, and really in a real sense from north to south and east to west, you can further call as a northeast region, each and every one. So these are the all or are the gems of our geography, and we came to know through this only. I thank you, Professor Devendra Prakash ji. I thank you, Professor Sohal Saab, today's president of lecture. I also thank Sarfaraz sir, and of course the previous to me Ram Sakar and the Professor Yadav Saab and all other. This is a great opportunity to listen. Actually, I don't have any so much idea, but listen to various aspects with attributes and various contribution which is unknown to most of us. There's a so I thank you to give me opportunity to listen this lecture, and I congratulate to all of you. Thank you, Vandana. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, can I request our organizer, Professor Devendra Singh, to say something?
Madam, and good good evening to all of you, all the senior professors from each and every corner of the country. I am very thankful and grateful to you all for cooperating us in organizing such a lecture series in a great way and in a nice manner. And I am happy to announce that on the 25th of this month, we shall have our 27th episode, and it will be devoted to the founders and makers of modern geography in Deen Dayal Gorakhpur University. And we shall organizing lectures on two of the founders of geography in that university, Professor Mahatam Singh and Professor V.K. Srivastava will deliver lecture on Professor Mahatam Singh, and Professor S.K. Dixit will be talking on Professor Ujagar Singh. And we are going to publish this four volume of the series very soon, and the editing process is in final stage. And once again, I am thankful to you all, and very good evening to you all, sir. Thank you.
I would like, Mamutadi, I would like Dr. Qureshi, Professor Qureshi, to say a few words about Professor Banerjee. Professor Qureshi is my student also at JNU. So if Professor Qureshi can have, I think he knows Professor Banerjee. So he knew Professor Banerjee. So if he could say a few words.
Madam Mamta Desai ji, I have to also speak few words about Professor Banerjee. I am Professor Rana Pratap from Magad district.
No.
I think.
Shashwati, Professor Rana Pratap ji wants to say something.
Yes. Let him first say.
First, please, Professor Qureshi. Is he here?
He was here.
He was here.
But perhaps he has left.
So thank you. I have to say a few words about Professor B. Banerjee. I was very closely associated with Professor Banerjee since 1977 when he was a resource person while we were attending the refresher course in Guwahati University. Since then, we were very close, and being the member of the Nagi, we were always meeting. I have not seen such type of simple, gentle, and learned professor like Professor Banerjee. He was very, he was very honest, very simple, very friendly, and always encouraging for the research works. Whenever we met, we talked a lot about the development of geography. So sincerely, he was always busy in developing the geography as a whole. When I was editing a book on Professor Dayal of Patna University, I requested him that you must contribute a research paper on Professor Dayal. Professor Banerjee, he was very happy, and actually he sent a very nice paper on Professor Dayal. We have already published. So I was listening to Professor Saraswati Banerjee, Saraswati Mukherjee, and time and again I was visiting Calcutta University, where I always talked and met Professor Banerjee in a nice way, and I must pay my sincere homage to that departed soul, the great geographers of India. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mamata, your mic is off.
Unmute yourself, Mamata di, unmute your.
I think, thank you, Mr. Rana Pratapji. And Professor Ashish Sarkar is here. Professor Ashish Sarkar, would you like to say something about Professor Banerjee?
Yes, if you give me permission, I can say something about Professor Banerjee.
Sure, Ashish.
Okay. It's a kind of story. I consider him my guru, and no further additional information to what has already been said about him. I can only cherish some moments I have had with him on the very day I met him. It's the kind of story he is associated with. My first encounter was sometimes in 1976. In our time, the final year practical examination, BSc Part 2, used to be held in the Department of Geography, University of Calcutta, Ballygun Science College campus. That was the last day of our examination, field report, only Viva Voce examination. All the students reached the department quite early in excitement, that is before 10 o'clock in the afternoon. The examination was scheduled for 10 a.m. and no teacher was there till then, and we were all loitering in the corridor. I was standing in front of a teacher's room. Close to 10 a.m., noticed that someone looking very ordinary came near that door and was opening it with keys. While doing this, he asked me, which college? I replied, Presidency. Come with me, he told as he entered the room, dusting the huge table covered with books, journals, cover files, and small typewriter, and so on. So, pointing at a chair on the opposite side, he commanded again, sit down. Still, I was not convinced that he was a professor and going to take my Viva Voce examination. Then he closed the door, went to the opposite side, and sat on his chair. He looked at me straight and asked, why did you do your work? Who were your supervisors? What did you do there? What difficulties did you face while pursuing field observations and household enumerations? Throughout the discourse, He casually opened my field report, field project, just turned on the pages in a jiffy and then put it down. I tried to answer my best from detailed knowledge taken from my classmates. This is because I didn't actually join the field trip. It was a 21-day field at Ramkrishnapuram, Andhra Pradesh, and the cost was too high for my family to bear. I felt guilty as I had to pretend that I had really done the field work very intensively. Then I came out of the room and asked one of the non-teaching staff in the office who he was. He looked at me with a curious face and replied with a resounding voice that he was Professor Bireswar Banerjee Delete. I had no idea who he was. Might be a bit, but at the same time didn't expect such easy questions. The Viva-C examination was fun to me. I didn't realize I met someone who will shape me later. My second encounter, our MSc classes started, and within a week came to know all the professors of the department and the seniors in the department. BB, as he was fondly called, didn't take any classes in the first semester. In the second semester routine, BB was to take the first class at 10 a.m. and I missed all his classes as I had to join South Point School on a temporary vacancy to support my family. The school hour was 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and I could comfortably join the second half of classes. One day, he called me into his room and asked, what is the matter with me? Why I am always absent from his class? I was scared, but then told him my story. He asked, why did you come from? I said, Bengal. Next question, do you know Sir Rakhaldas Bandyopadhyay, the famous historian archaeologist who discovered Indus Valley civilization, Ram Jadhav? Have you visited Vibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay's place, a great Bengali novelist? Satyajit Ray became famous for his making internationally famous movie, Pather Pachali, based on one of his novels. Have you seen a Nilkuti, the indigo planters residence cum processing center? And lots of questions related to the place surrounding my village. I was surprised. He even knew all the big personalities of my place. Then he told me. We had a long chat and shared views about its past glory. Then he gave me a list of books related to the portion of our syllabus. It was a turning moment in my life. He became my friend and philosopher henceforth. My third encounter. Our final examination ended in April 1980. And in June, I joined West Bengal Civil Service Executive as Deputy Magistrate and Deputy Collector at Krishnagar, Nadia. It was almost 2.5 hours from Calcutta by train. I did register for PhD under Dr. Phani Bhushan Roy as soon as the result was out by the first week of July 1980. But due to some odd reasons, my research came to a halt. In 1982, I left WBCS and joined West Bengal Education Service and was posted in Chandanagar Government College as a lecturer. In 1986, summer vacation, I went to the Baligan Science College to meet my old friends in its 10th floor canteen. While leaving, entered the department to see if anybody was there at that odd moment. All doors were ajar. Only BB's door was wide open. He looked at me and signaled to have a seat. He was busy in typing something on his favorite brother typewriter machine. After a couple of moments, he came back to his chair and asked about the progress of my thesis. I told him my story. After a patient hearing, he suggested me two options. Number one, I can pursue the same PhD under someone else if I wish. Or number two, I can start afresh with a new subject. His voice seemed to be somewhat commanding and told me to write 1 or 2 pages about the research proposal of my choice and see him in a week. I came back home, gave a serious thought about it, and decided to choose a topic not so much field-oriented, but model-based, quantitative, and interesting. I went to show him my 1.5-page proposal. He went through it, gave it back to me, and said to put my signature with the date. I obeyed and gave it back to him. After a month later, I couldn't believe my eyes. I received an official letter from the registrar, Calcutta University. It was the PhD registration letter mentioning my topic and BB as my supervisor. From that day onward, he became my friend, philosopher, and guide, not only in my academic career, but also in my life as well. Since then, I used to meet him quite often, till the thesis was finally submitted in 1990. In the meantime, he became known to my family also. My children used to call him Bibi Dada. Then I was transferred to Holdia Government College, Midnapur, and could only meet him at his 90 BD Salt Lake home at least twice a year, after Posh Sankranti and after Vijaya Dashami. In 1996, I came back to Presidency College as professor in West Bengal Senior Education Service and HOD of Geography. Our bondage became more solid. And whenever he came to the Calcutta University main campus at College Street, he visited my department, sat in my room, and used to have long adda with both non-teaching and teaching members. He was loved by all, from Darwan to the principal of the college. After retirement, he agreed to my proposal and joined our department as part-time faculty and was there till 2010 when the college was transformed into a university. He was the founder president of the Indian Society of Special Scientists and was instrumental to provide the young scholars to publish their research through the Indian Journal of Special Science. He wholeheartedly participated in all the program of the department and the college and thoroughly enjoyed them. On May 7, 2012, I suffered a severe myocardial infarction in the department and was on medical leave till November 2012. Since then, we met only twice a year as usual, like before, and kept regular contact through land phone calls. I have numerous personal memories with him. He's the man who made me what I am today. Through him, I came to know Professor A.B. Mukherjee, Professor Munish Raja, Professor Shoki, Professor D.C. Goswami, Professor D.K. Singh, Professor Deshpande, and many other stalwarts at that time from all over India. Words will fail to describe him. He was a very simple man. His motto was plain living and high thinking. He was a voracious reader, an author, a researcher, an agricultural geographer, an excellent cartographer, and a hardcore presidential. I miss him. I pay my wholehearted homage to my professor, Professor Bireswar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashish. I requested you for so many times, but at last you have joined and shared your views about Professor Banerjee. Thank you very much. I see Srikumar Chattopadhyay is there. Srikumar, do you want to say something about Professor Banerjee?
Yeah, yes. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening, Srikumar Da.
Yeah,
Nice seeing you.
I was listening. I was from the very beginning.
Srikumar, you have guided us in a very good manner to convey as a conveyor or something else like that. You have helped a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think Professor Sashwati Mukherjee has given a very elaborate and good presentation indicating different facets of Professor Banerjee, and subsequently which I heard from Aruti Di and Mamata Di, and also Ashish. When we are in the department, Mamata Di was a PhD scholar, so we know from that time onwards. Now, with Professor Banerjee, I had a very interesting relationship. So when we joined in 1973, he was not in India. In fact, he was in Japan. And after a couple of months, he came back and he started teaching us agricultural geography. But more interesting is the first field work in university we had under him. Professor Banerjee and there's an Asian Mukherjee, Sudhindranath Mukherjee. Both of them took us to Morakshi Valley, I think, Massanjor. It's a Morakshi Valley project. So he took us there And then we had gone to again, Santiniketan. Then he brought us to Kenduli in the Ajay. So in fact, we are seeing Morakshi, we are seeing Kopai, and we are seeing Ajay. And he was talking about this. We are immersed a little bit. Immersed a little bit means he's a very short stature person and very simple. And normally, in those days, he used to come with dhoti and Punjabi, a white Punjabi and dhoti. That was his attire. So in the field also, he was in the same attire. And he had two cameras. I think, one he was using for a very macro scale and for the slides, which subsequently has shown to us. And there's another one, which was taking our photographs and all this type. So we really got quite interested that a professor is coming with two cameras and taking the photographs. And subsequently, again, he was showing in the department that, see, these are the things, what you are doing. Okay, and these are the field photographs. It's a very interesting to us. One day what happened is, he asked us that, okay, I'm going to teach a little bit detailed on this agriculture thing. There was a Jones and Durkenwald book. He was really teaching from there. Shall we teach in Bengali or in English? So I stood up and told, sir, please teach in Bengali. Will be more comfortable if you mix Bengali and English. Those are the times still the teaching was going on in English. He smiled and told Sikumar, but you have to go with English. With these things, of course, he mixed it up, mixed both the languages. And one thing was very, very open. So I had an interaction with him from 73 to 79 till I left Calcutta. When I became a scholar, I was doing PhD under Professor Kanungopal Bagchi. But we used to spend long time. And what Ashish mentioned and Shashruti mentioned is very correct. The person who is closing the department and opening the department is Professor Bireswar. Many days it happened that we are working. It's a long hours. In between, I joined in another office and used to come in the evening and doing my work. And it goes on. So in the end, Sikumar, will you go now? I'm going now. It also happened in that. It's almost sometimes in 9, sometimes in 10 o'clock. So this sort of a teacher, I think we don't find today. That's one of the things really where a teacher is asking a student, shall we go now? It's not that I'm going, or it's a different approach. Although I am not his scholar, that's a sort of a thing really to make it very clear that his idea was this one. One of the encounter, still I remember, it is in Nagpur. In one of the seminars, the debate was going on. It's a Negi seminar. Debate was going on agricultural geography, and I was trying to articulate some point. It was quite hotting up. After some time, Professor Banerjee stood up and told, what my student Sikumar was telling you, please consider that point when you pursue further on this line. I was stunned in the sense that, in an open seminar, a professor is introducing his students and with this large audience, and when I was quite young. It is not that I have established myself, I'm just trying to do the work. And this was the sort of affection his student used to get. And that was Professor Banerjee. A very simple looking, with a very simple attire, almost unassuming. Suppose he's walking, you don't really find out that there's any ear in it. I know this sort of a thing which we learn from him, that how a person should be there. In our days, the story used to go, which again, Shashwati mentioned that he was one of the brilliant students of Professor S.P. Chatterjee. Once S.P. Chatterjee asked the Bireswar, what do you like to do? And the professor answered, sir, I like to sit in your chair. And he sat in his chair. That was when he was a student. So I would like to sit in your chair, the type of confidence which you like to have. And then, of course, he was the first delete. And when, as he was doing in the agricultural, he knows very well on the soil. I remember we went to Kolkata. The Kolkata is very famous for flower cultivation. And we got down in the flower bed and taking the soil. He was telling us it's the silky clay loam. This is silky clay. This is something. This is the hand texturing. And what is the importance of the hand texturing to understand the soil? So there are a lot of stories, but thank you very much, Shashwati. Thank you, Bhamatadi. And then Devendra Prasad, a big thanks to you because you made all this possible to really relive those old days and also to know our teachers much more detailed. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Kumar, very much. We are also in the national class. We are working together. Yes. Now I think, and it appears that many of his students or scholars have joined. Any of them would like to say something?
I think Lakshmi is here, if she can say something.
Okay.
Good evening to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
you are audible, Lakshmi.
Yes, you are audible.
Firstly, I would like to thank Devendra Prasad Singh for taking this initiative, and thanks to all the participants over here and Professor Mukherjee for giving an insight into Professor Banerjee, which we were not aware of. The thing I can share about Sir is that uh, actually I was a student and I joined the department in 1984. And as Ashishda said, we also face the same situation. The first day we start our PG classes, we entered the department and we saw that someone opened the gate, the collapsible gate, and then we went into the classes. And the very next movement, just at the dot of 11, we see sir coming and taking our class. So this was my interaction with him, and I was a research scholar in the department. Uh, as everyone has mentioned, sir has been very humane, and he used to look after us, research scholars. He used to come. I'm just taking one Bengali word, saying, "তোমরা সব খেয়েছো?" That was the one thing which he used to come and ask during the break. And there were a lot of refresher courses going on when we were research scholars. And he made sure that, we got the lunch packet. So, we were very happy. The sir was always giving us something. And his scholarship was something, all of you have already mentioned. And I am much, much junior to you all. But still, the way he used to speak in classes, spontaneously. And we used to feel he was, a landmine, carrying data with him. So this was my experience of Professor Banerjee. And later on, when we were scholars, he used to inquire about me. And he used to say, "Bari ki rokho jabe? How would you go home? Will I drop you?" Because his sister used to stay very close to my house. So I pay my homage to this great stalwart of our department. Thank you very much, Professor Desai and Adituji, for giving us an insight, and of course others like Sri Kumar Dad or sharing the tidbits, Ashish Da, sharing the tidbits of your experiences with Professor Banerjee. And of course, Professor Mukherjee for giving us an excellent lecture.
And thank you, Lakshmi. You are very much correct. Once he scolded me like anything, and I began to cry and thought that I will not be able to continue my work under him. In the evening, he came to my house along with cakes and pastries. He called my daughter as Memshal. And he was that humanity we can't imagine. And anyone else?
Professor RBP Singh should be requested for his remarks.
Yes.
Now can I call anyone else?
Madam Professor RBP Singh
RBP Singh.
should be requested.
Am I audible, Professor D.P. Singh ji?
Yes, yes.
Should I speak something?
Yes, sure.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madams. I have joined your program much later. So I was not from the beginning. I'm not much aware about the deliberations which took place. But since it was on Professor Bireswar Banerjee, I had also personal interaction with him. He was, in fact, he was very, very fond of the Department of Geography, Patna University, because when he was there, I was a young teacher. Here there were some teachers working very sincerely over agricultural land use, and some projects were here. So he often used to come here to conduct examinations. He often used to come here to participate in some seminar discussion. And we have taken up under the leadership of Professor S.N. Prasad. Here was professor, and he was very close, a good friend of Professor Bireswar Banerjee. So he would come here, would not stay anywhere else, but at the house of S.N. Prasad, and had a lot of many times discussions over the culture scenario the country state had. So I remember one incident that is very, very important, that he had come here to conduct MA practical exam in agricultural geography. So he straightway came at the residence of Professor Prasad, and that year the daughter of Prasad was also appearing in the exam. So Dr. Prasad did not say him anything, because Dr. Prasad himself was in struggle. So if I say it may be a disrespect, he has come, let him be afresh, then I may say. Meanwhile, the time passed and both came here. The head of the department, in fact, was angered. And he was that Dr. Prasad would have told him clearly this, that. But what is important here is that when head of department told him that you did not do it in good taste, this, that, then Professor Banerjee told one thing, that Mr. I don't think the name is so important, Mr. Head of the department, if you think my integrity is questionable, then I would be happy. You leave me, and I wouldn't conduct the exams. A person or teacher is known for his impartiality, integrity, performance in the classroom, writings, research papers, and the academic activities. It is so unimportant, so marginal thing that the daughter of this and that, son of this, that is appearing. So then the HOD of geography Banerjee realized that something wrong I have done. So then the head himself extended sorrow and said, no, that was not my intention to raise the question on our integrity, and you will conduct exam, no one else. And dear participants, you all will be surprised to know that definitely the daughter of that professor did not get the marks within the 5 top students who were awarded, and she got what she was really deserving. So that is the character, class of a teacher, and that I found in Bireswar Banerjee. We had also meeting in Nagi. Later on, he was not coming in Nagi for a long time, but last time Professor D.P. Singh is knowing, he was in Nagi in 1998 at Gorakhpur, and something was wrong, that he was asked by some teachers, you contest the election. We were telling him, sir, you don't contest. Situation is different. And the person who was almost bent upon, I will be the president, and he had the support. We requested him, Professor D.P. Singh will recall this, that, sir, you don't contest. You may not get the support. But in spite of our request, he contested, and
supervising so many scholars at a time in different branches of geography. So that was a kind of masterpiece which he has exemplified, and I think a teacher, there are 3 sections in the lifetime of a geographer: to become a brilliant student, to become a successful teacher, and to become a successful researcher, and in the later part of his career, a successful supervisor. And Professor Banerjee scored in all these 3 or 4 areas, which throughout the life and even after retirement, he used to come to the department. He occupied a table, a section of the museum. He used to work there. Up to 2000, he entered into department as a teacher. So far I remember in 1961-62 period, and he came to the department up to 2005, and in during that period he was so active, he produced as many as 38 research scholars successfully. He supervised, and up to 2000, the last which I recorded, up to 2000, he was supervising the students, and the last scholar, he was being awarded in the year 2000. So 61 to 2000, 40 years, 4 decades, he was so much productive, either in contributing papers in so many journals, in supervising, in teaching, as editor of Geographical Review of India. I think that is an achievement for him, and we'll be happy if some of us would follow him and to take his lessons as blessings from him. I'm not going to extend my delivery anymore. We are discussing over him for last two hours or so. Thanks to all of you, and special thanks to Professor Devendra Prasad Singh to take this initiative to continue one after one series. And let me take this opportunity. There are some few more legends in our department or in the Calcutta School of Geography, like Professor Sunil Kumar Munshi, Professor Satyesh Chandra Chakraborty. They have also contributed the discipline of geography so many ways. I'd be happy if you continue like this, and many more legends can be incorporated within this series. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Professor Singh. Thanks to the chair.
Thank you, Professor
Time,
Bashir.
and no one would be spared. We include each and every person, each and every geographer of the country, sir.
Now, I could not contact Professor Champa Mitru, his first PhD scholar, because she does not have any Wi-Fi connection now. Can I call Mr. Singh, Nandini Chatterjee for vote of thanks?
Sudesh Nangia man has joined again.
So could you be again ask her?
I think that
Take the views once.
Please request him to say a few words.
Yes, yes, you are welcome. But you are not audible.
Nangia ma'am, please unmute yourself.
No, I'm waiting for Sudesh Nangia. Someone said she has joined.
Yes,
She is unable to speak anything.
Okay.
But
Her
he is muted.
Her connection is not in a good position.
He is neither audible nor visible.
The president may be requested to say something.
Before vote of thanks, I think you need Professor K.S. Shohal, president of the meeting, to talk.
Of course, president should be giving.
Yes, Professor Shohal.
I am very grateful Saraswati Mukherjee for presenting a very detailed lecture about the life and work of Professor Bireswar Banerjee. He has thrown very intensive as well as extensive light on his lifetime. One thing which is very amusing to me, that being as a son of a jamidar, he went to higher education, because in Punjab hardly the sons and daughters of jamidars go for higher education. Though I am also one of them, jamidar, but hardly. So it is very amusing for me. Secondly, first I will talk about his career. So he was, his first love you can say was agriculture geography. Though he was agricultural geographer, but he believes in interdisciplinary research. For at that time, it was a matter of great pride. A person was interdisciplinary, and not only he worked in interdisciplinary subject, but he supervised many PhD theses in medical geography, in industrial geography, in agricultural geography, so which shows his widespread knowledge. Secondly, he has written about 100 research papers, guided 40 PhDs, which is a remarkable number, and presented many research papers in national and international conferences, and he was very actively participated in the academic field, not only of Calcutta University, but in other university in the capacity of member of the the board of post studies. So he gave so many you can say views on it. And the most important thing which fascinated to me is his human approach. Being as a great scholar, he was human by his heart. And he loved so much to his students and was ready to help them, not only during you can say the teaching or the university hours, but after the university hours also. It is not you can say with everyone. And whatever the views I've heard from his friends or his junior colleagues or from his students, all are appreciable one. So, to my mind, he was a legend geographer who shows way to many new scholars who are now, you can say, working not only in the teaching professions, but in other professions also. They have gone, you can say, for other sources also. As far as the researcher is concerned, like Professor Shafi, he was also a great believer of field survey. Because in geography, without field survey, you cannot establish any model, any theory. You cannot prove anything right. Because most of the geographers work only on the secondary data. So, the third thing that Madam Mukherjee said, he was a great cartographer also. and a great photographer also. So to impart knowledge to the students through pictures or through maths, again supplement the teaching. So these type of qualities are rare, you can say, in geographers. Very rare. So the first time I have heard his name from Madam Mukherjee and about his work. It is a remarkable one, and my hats are off to him. So with these words, I conclude my presidential remarks. Thank you very much.
Now, can I have your permission, Mr. President and Mr. Devendra Prasad Singh, to invite Nandini, Dr. Nandini Chatterjee to
Yes.
extend vote of thanks?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Nandini Chatterjee.
Yes. On behalf of the organizing team, it is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion, devoted to the much respected and legendary academician Professor Bireswar Banerjee. Usually I shy away from these occasions, but because I myself, he was my research guide and mentor, that is why tried to gain some confidence and propose this vote of thanks. The list is quite long, and everyone, first of all, overall, thanks to all the participants, all the dignitaries, everyone present here for devoting their valuable time. And now I'll just progress from one the dignity to the other, and then we'll go to the last, all the technicians, everyone who have been involved here. We are extremely grateful to President Professor K.S. Sohal for giving his valuable time to remain throughout, and then ultimately to state his views on Professor Banerjee. Uh, Secondly, I would like to thank convener Professor Mamta Desai, who was I was acquainted with her also during my research days and all, and that she has also given her time to coordinate and progress this entire session. Guests of honor, Professor Smita Bhutani, I think she joined first because I think I saw her. Then maybe for some reasons she had to leave. So I also thank her for at least attending it during the first part. And to Dr. Mohammad Sarfaraz Asgar, who also has attended this thing and listened to the entire session and showed his interest. To the chief guest, Professor Virendra Nagarale, University of Pune. I think he also has participated in this and stated his interest in Professor Banerjee. Distinguished guest, Professor Ram Yadav, I'm also grateful to you for participating in this seminar, and our special guest, Professor V. Emaya Varanamban, for his also involvement in this seminar. Next, I should like to thank our intercessor, Professor Devendra P. Singh, who has been throughout, who has encouraged us, who has also taken the initiative of conducting this along with Professor Mamta Desai. Our speaker, Professor Shashwati Mukherjee, I think that it was her initiative, it was her encouragement. In fact, she only encouraged me to participate in this and give the vote of thanks. So, and she has given a very good lecture. She has highlighted on Sir's academic life in a very detailed manner, many things even we didn't know. Besides that, I would like to give a special thanks to those who have actually discussed the praiseworthy attributes of Sir's character and who have given their recollections of their memories. Professor Rana Pratap, Professor Sri Kumar Chattopadhyay, Professor Ashish Sarkar, Professor Lakshmi Shiv Ramakrishnan, Professor Ranjan Basu, Professor R.V.P. Singh. And also Professor Nihal Ahmed for his comments on Sir. I would also like to thank family members, Professor Malyashree Bhattacharya and Professor Joyashree Datta for helping with the I think, yeah, I think there was, yeah. So Malyashree Bhattacharya and Professor Joyashree Datta for giving information on Sir. And last, but not the least, I would also like to thank Dr. Arati Nondi, who has given the welcome address, who was also one of Sir's foremost and important research scholars. And I've also worked with her. She was my senior guide, I can say professor, I mean, a guide, everything can say. Can you hear me or am I out?
We can hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay, I've not finished. Just I'll have to thank the organizing secretaries, Dr. Ambarish Kumar Rai and Dr. Amit Kumar for helping in conducting this seminar. And lastly, to all the participants, including the audience who have made this seminar a success. There were almost 92 participants in the beginning. So that was really quite encouraging for us. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nandini Chatterjee. For Dr. Virendra Nagaral, I am in Pune now.
Yes, ma'am, we can meet definitely.
After 28th September, I am in Pune.
Yeah.
Now, thanks to all of you for this excellent and very good presentation from all of you, and especially to Professor Dr. Shashwati Mukherjee, Devendra Prasadji, and Professor Shwali. May I conclude here with your kind permission?
Yes, madam, yes.
Namaste ji.
You can conclude.
Good afternoon. Goodbye. Stay well, all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Yeah, please.
Good